Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Insider Insights. Before we start today's discussion, let's welcome our guest here, Mr. Chip Michaud. Welcome, Chip.
Thank you.
So tell us about what you do and your background.
Sure. I am Senior Director and Corporate Controller for AOBiome Therapeutics, which is a biotech company located in Cambridge, Massachusetts. A little bit about what the company does. We're in the clinical stage, so we have some therapies that I'll get into that were in human trials at this point. We're, have subjects in different places all over the country testing our products to see if they actually have beneficial uses and that they're safe. What we have is we have a bacteria that has positive effects. This is a bacteria that people have on their body anyways, and we found that if we increase the amount of this bacteria on people, it can help with skin diseases. It can also help with immune things like hay fever. It can also possibly have a therapeutic effect on people that suffer migraine headaches. It's a small company, as many of the biotechs in this area are. There's 25 employees. In this area, this is a biotech hub in Cambridge, in Boston, Watertown. There's probably 100 companies of similar size to ours, all doing this different research with different therapies and different drugs. We're venture capital backed. We raised money from venture capital firms, and we're using that to further our research and hopefully have a product that will meet with FDA guidelines and get FDA approval, and then we'll have a product. We also have a cosmetic product that we sell over the counter. It's a lower dose of the bacteria, and we sell that under the brand name Mother Dirt. So if you look on Amazon under Mother Dirt, you'll see our product and be able to learn more about it. What got me to where I am today? So I actually started off in a different career choice. I started off working in retail management, where I managed retail stores, a couple different kinds. And I decided that wasn't the career path for me. That wasn't something that I wanted to do my whole working career. And I liked the accounting financial aspect of it. I went back to school to get some more credits so that I could sit for the CPA exam, or the Certified Public Accountant, which is a credential that's very important to an accountant's career. And I got the credits. I sat for the exam, passed the exam. I got a job in public accounting at one of the big four public accounting firms, working out of the Boston office. That was Deloitte. I worked there for 9 years, audited companies in many different industries, and really improved my technical accounting skills. Also got a chance to lead teams while I was there. After 9 years, it was time to get back into industry. And I worked in a couple of different industries. I worked in a large retailer, technology company that made hardware and software, an internet company, and then I got into biotech, and I've really enjoyed biotech. It's very interesting. I get to work with a lot of scientists and get to try and understand what they're doing. And it also, the things that we're doing are really going to improve people's lives. This is my second biotech company, and both of them I'm very proud of what they're trying to do.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. What are the hard skills and soft skills that's needed to work in your industry?
Yeah, so the hard skills is you need to have a good understanding of the rules and regulations around accounting. Many of these companies, um, most of the companies I've worked for have audits. Um, even if you're not a public company, I'll start with the private companies. A lot of private companies have debt, or their investors require them to have an audit. So you have to understand how to put the financials together. You have to have a good understanding of U.S. GAAP, the rules that apply for that. You also, many of the companies, the biotech companies, have the goal of going public. So you have to have an understanding of the SEC rules so that you can prepare the company to go public. You should also have some understanding of international accounting standards. Um, Hong Kong has opened up their market to allow biotechs to launch IPOs on the Hong Kong exchange, and many companies are considering to do that. And that's a slightly different set of rules than the US rules. Um, you have to have a general understanding of how to put financials together. You have to be able to explain what's in the numbers. So it's at first, when I got into the industry of accounting, I thought I would just be working with numbers. But there's an awful lot of writing, and there's presenting. You have to present the numbers to, stakeholders, upper management, investors. The soft skills, communication is very important in this job. You have to communicate with people that may not have the same depth of understanding of financials as you do. So you have to be able to explain it to them in terms that they will understand. Also, from early on, you'll be given leadership opportunities. So you need to be able to lead and motivate people, and that's a very tough soft skill to master. I wouldn't say that I've completely mastered it, but I've come a long way in my 20 plus years working in accounting.
So you've had many experience training new employees and new team members. Can you share a bit about that experience?
Yeah. So you really have to try and understand where they're coming from, what motivates them. Something that they started teaching in school now, but something that I've done some training on my own is understanding emotional intelligence. Or sometimes, you have an IQ, which is a measure of your cognitive intelligence, but this would be a measure of your ability to understand the emotions of somebody else, understand how they are feeling, being able to read their emotions. That's very important because people react to things very differently. So one person, you might be able to just tell them what to do, and they're going to go and run and do it. Another person, you really have to explain to them why they would want to do this. And then also you have to look at people and understand what kind of day are they having. If they have a tough day at home, and when they come to the office to do their work, is that still affecting them? How can you help them still be productive and deal with those things that they have going on outside of the office?
Great. Do you see any differences between native employees and international employees?
Any difference between local employees and international employees? Yeah, so I see positive and negative in both. Um, uh, I would say international employees seem a lot more driven. I think maybe they have more at stake. They're really willing to put the effort in to get the job done. I think the local employees are they're more open and more communicative. Um, it might be cultural, it might be that English is a second language for international employees, but I mean, I I only know one language and I've lived here my whole life, but it, I would rather have somebody um, open up and do their best to communicate with me than not to communicate because they feel that there's something lacking in their English skills. Um, the person that works for me now, English is his second language, and I work with him a lot to help him when he has to communicate with other people. Especially like uh, senior level executives, you know, and somebody like me, when an international person comes over and goes to work here, we're very willing to help with any communication issues. But develop a close relationship with your immediate supervisor. You'd be surprised at how willing they are to help.
Yeah, great. Um, so you've been in the industry for 20 plus years. You must have seen many changes within the industry. Can you please tell us about that part?
Yeah, I've seen quite a few changes. Um, Technology has changed a lot since I started. Uh, Here, I'm talking to you through my computer. You're hundreds of miles away, and it's like we're in the same room. When I started, if I needed to talk to somebody in New York or Georgia, it was a big deal. It was going to cost a lot of money to even talk to them on the phone. And then I can remember the early days of video conferencing, and that was very, very expensive and very limited in its use. Um, and to communicate with people around the world was was not easy. Today, it's I mean I on a regular basis for have interacted with people around the world. Um, in Especially in the last few years. I mean, the last company I was at, we had a subsidiary in Russia, and on a regular basis, I was in conversations with the person in Russia that did our accounting. Here we have a lot going on in Hong Kong and China, and it's not unusual for me to have conversations with, with people that we have working for us in Hong Kong and China. The technology is also the cloud. The cloud wasn't around when I started. It was at the early stages of the internet, and data transfer rates weren't what they were today. But now everything is in the cloud. At the company I'm at, we don't even have on-site storage. Everything we do is in the cloud, which makes it much easier and much more mobile. The other change more on the softer side, which technology has enabled us, is we're not so rigid about work hours and where you do the work. It's not a problem if I or the person who works for me can't be in the office at a certain hour because they can work from wherever they are. The cloud has enabled them. And I think a lot of employers today are very open to that. I mean, we still spend a lot of time in the office so that we can meet face to face, but it's not a problem to adjust your hours or work in different places and work with teams on a global basis.
So is new technology the most trainings you do, or if there are any other trainings you do to be better at your job?
Sure. So as a CPA, I'm required to do 80 hours of training every 2 years. I have to submit to the state evidence that I did at least 80 hours of training. I do a little bit more than that. So that 80 hours, that's mostly on accounting skills. So I'm always trying to keep on top of my accounting skills, any changes in regulations. I also spend time investing in soft skills. Um, I belong to a couple professional organizations. Um, One is Financial Executives International. I'm also a member of the AICPA, and I'll attend seminars on leadership, on recruiting, on new employees, on emotional intelligence. Um, so some of those will be live, they'll be local. Usually they're scheduled either first thing in the morning or at the end of the day, so that it doesn't interrupt your workday too much. So I might go to a training from 7:30 in the morning to 9:30 in the morning, or say 5:30 in the evening to 9 o'clock in the evening. I also completed my MBA just recently in 2016, where I went to school 2 nights a week to do my MBA. So always learning. I'm a firm believer that learning should never stop.
Excellent. What are the differences between accounting, biotechnology, and retail?
Accounting and retail? You mean the job that I had before? Yeah. So when I worked in retail, it was retail. You would do a lot of lower level jobs as a retail manager. I mean, we did everything. We might be examining the profit and loss statement for your store one day, and then the next day you're mopping the floor because it needs to be mopped, or you're at the cash register because there's a line at the cash register. So it was I did gain some skills from that experience that have helped me here. As accounting and finance professionals, customer service is a big part of our job. My customers aren't the customers of the company. My customers are the stakeholders. My customers are the CEO and the CFO. It's the department managers. Those are my customers. And the years in retail taught me how to apply very good customer service, and that has certainly helped me in my career. Here I get to think a lot more strategically than I did in retail. Retail it was more on day to day, month to month. Here, I'm working on 2 and 5 year plans for the company, putting together the financials and working with people throughout the company to develop those plans. So it's I don't mop floors anymore, but if it has anything to do with accounting, I would do it, depending on what needs to be done. A lot of these biotechs are very small, so you might not have a very large staff. Right now, I only have one person that works for me. At my last one, I had 5 people that worked for me. But with only one person working for me, sometimes I have to do things that I've done 15 years ago, such as a simple reconciling the bank statement. I'll do that now because I have somebody else write the checks. It's important for segregation of duties and control that somebody else reconciles the bank statement. There's nobody else, so I'll do that. But it's more, I would say the biggest difference is more strategic.
Do you like working for big companies like Deloitte, or smaller companies like this one you are with on?
Yeah, so some of the companies I worked at before biotech were also larger. The difference, I like the smaller companies because I have a really good picture of what's happening. I interact with the senior management every day. As I discussed, I mean, I'm working on the plan for the entire company, so I get much more visibility into what's happening. Um, but I also very much enjoyed working at Deloitte. Um, I get to see a lot of, especially as a younger person, working at Deloitte, I get to see a lot of different industries. I get to work with a lot of different people. It really expanded my horizons. So I would say there's definite benefits working at a large firm like Deloitte. At this point in my career, I enjoy working for the small biotech company and having much more visibility and impact into the direction.
Awesome. I have one last question for you. Please give some actionable advices that everybody in the range from 18 to 25 should know, in your opinion.
Sure. Um, so your future is yours. You get to decide where you're going. Um, so just remember that. Um, you know where you will be when you're 30 and 35 and 45 is greatly impacted on what you do between 18 and 25. So think about that seriously. Where do I want to be when I'm 30? You know, where do I want to be when I'm 35? As you get further out, it's harder to plan, but come up with a plan of where I want to be when I'm 30, and then figure out how you're going to get there. And to to figure out how you're going to get there, talk to people that are already there. You know, a lot of the schools they have they have opportunities to network with professionals in the field. They have opportunities to mentor with professionals in the field. A lot of the professionals know people in the field. Set up times, invite them to lunch or coffee, and talk to them about how they got there, so that you can develop a concrete plan. Um, you know, a lot of people will say, do what you're passionate about, and I'm somewhat in agreement with that. But you also want to make sure that you can support yourself. So, you know, I'm very passionate about the outdoors and hiking, but I can't make a living at that. But I really enjoy what I do here at this company. I really enjoy the mission of the company. So I've found a balance where I get to do what I enjoy. I get to make a difference in the world, and I make a living at it. And then I also get on my spare time, if I want to go and hike the Grand Canyon for a week, I can do that. You know, I can schedule that. Um, so plan for your future. Develop contacts with people in the industry that you think you want to go in. And if you sometimes you might find that you need to change that plan, like I did. You know, I decided I didn't want to be a retail manager, and I started looking around at what else I could do and what else would I enjoy. And I talked to some people in the field, and here I am, 20 years later, and really enjoying it.
Great advices. Thanks. Thank you for being here today, Chef.
Well, no, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks. And thank you for watching this episode of Insider Insights. We will see you next time.